Hello everyone. Welcome to the episode that deals with the types of sentences. Here we will discuss the importance and meaning of sentence and the types of sentences in English grammar along with the examples. I am Sakshi Mandwal and our subject expert for today's topic is Ms. Sabah Tariq, lecturer for English at the University of Juzan, Saudi Arabia. After watching this episode, the student will be able to understand the importance and meaning of sentences, to understand the different types of sentences along with their examples, to expand and improve the skills of writing English correctly. The sentence and its importance in English grammar. At its core, the term grammar refers to either the inherent of words and sentences, morphology and syntax respectively in a language, or to the study and description of this structure, published as grammar rules in books about the language. Other approaches include more topics under the term grammar: orthography, spelling, punctuation and capitalization, semantics, word meanings, phonetics and phonology, sounds, and pragmatics, language used in context. We unconsciously use grammar all the time when we use language for speaking, listening, reading and writing. If we want to improve our English language abilities, there is no escape from addressing grammar issues. Grammar explains how the language should be structured using various categories. Number refers to formation of singular and plural nouns and other parts of the sentence that have to agree with number. Example, child versus children, whereas gender, a category hardly existent in English but alive in German, regards the differences between masculine, dear Löffel spoon, feminine, die Gabel, fork, or even neuter, das Messer, knife. Nouns and how these affect other words in a properly phrased sentence. Tense and aspect treat the formation of verbs from the English one, write, she writes, we write, we are writing, distinctions, all the way to far more elaborate verb conjugation systems of other languages. A grammatical category or element never stands alone, as it influences all other parts of the structural system of a language. Now, grammar topics are usually sorted in books into word grammar and sentence grammar. Word grammar sections are further divided according to the different parts of speech. Content words containing verbs, nouns, adjective and adverbs. And structure words containing determiners, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions and interjections. Sentence grammar relates to the construction of phrases, clauses and full sentences, all the way up to paragraphs and full texts. Also, sentence grammar talks about the different types of sentences that a learner can make in different situations. What is a sentence? A sentence is the largest independent unit of grammar. It begins with a capital letter and ends with a period, question mark or exclamation point. Adjective. Sentential. The sentence is traditionally and inadequately defined as a word or group of words that expresses a complete idea and that includes a subject and a verb. See definitions and observations below. The four basic sentence structures are the simple sentence, the compound sentence, the complex sentence and the compound complex sentence. Simple sentence. In English grammar, a simple sentence is a sentence with only one independent clause, also known as a main clause. Though a simple sentence doesn't contain any subordinate clauses, it isn't always short. A simple sentence often contains modifiers. In addition, subjects, verbs and objects in simple sentences may be coordinated. The simple sentence, also called a clausual sentence, is one of the four basic sentence structures. The other structures are the compound sentence, the complex sentence and the compound complex sentence. Here are some examples of simple sentences taken from the popular books of some prominent writers. I Am an Invisible Man. Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man, 1952. Fern came slowly down the stairs. E.B. White, Charlotte's Web, Harper and Row, 1952. Her eyes were red from crying. E.B. White, Charlotte's Web, Harper and Row, 1952. Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Bloomsbury, 1999. Of course, no man is entirely in his right mind at any time. Mark Twain, The Mysterious Stranger, 1916. Early to rise and early to bed makes a male healthy and wealthy and dead. James Thurber, The Shrike and the Chipmunks, 1939. I'd rather be a lightning rod than a seismograph. Ken Casey. Expect nothing. Live frugally on surprise. Alice Walker, Expect Nothing. Revolutionary Petunias and Other Poems. Hawk-Hodbury's Jovanovich, 1973. Observations. A sentence is classified simple even when it has a compound subject or predicate or both and includes modifying words and phrases. You and your friends can see the mountain on your next trip. You can see the mountain and climb to the top. Compound sentence. In English grammar, a compound sentence is a sentence that contains at least two independent clauses. Compound sentences can be formed in three basic ways. First, using a coordinating conjunction and, but, for, nor, or, so, yet to join the main clauses. Second, using a semicolon, either with or without a conjunctive adverb. Third, on occasion using a colon. The compound sentence is one of the four basic sentence structures. Examples of compound sentence. Look at the sentences which are very good examples of compound sentences. The kitchen table was set for breakfast and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster and wood smoke from the stove. E.B. White, Charlotte's Web, Harper, 1952. With this stone for a throne I looked down on my pond, but I cannot look down on the places beyond. Dr. Seuss, Yertle the Turtle, Random House, 1958. The drought had lasted now for 10 million years and the reign of the terrible lizards had long since ended. Arthur C. Clarke, 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968. The fields were fruitful and starving men moved on the roads. John Steinbeck, The Grapes of Wrath, 1939. Feasts must be solemn and rare, or else they cease to be feasts. Aldous Huxley, Holy Face, Do What You Will, 1929. He carried a fat law book, so she was glad to be protected with a book of her own. Bernard Malamud, The Assistant, Farrar, Straus and Giroux, 1957. Weeks passed and the little rabbit grew very old and shabby, but the boy loved him just as much. Margery Williams, The Velveteen Rabbit, 1922. The old man said almost nothing on those drives, yet he seemed pleased with his grandson's labours. William Kent Kruger, The Devil's Bed, Utria, 2003. It was dawn outside, a glowing grey, and birds had plenty to say out in the bare trees, and at the big window was a face and a windmill of arms. David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest, 1996. I found a snipe and I followed it under your porch, but this snipe had a long tail and looked more like a large mouse. Russell in Up, 2009. The glacier knocks in the cupboard, the desert sighs in the bed, and the crack in the teacup opens, a lane to the land, one of the dead. W. H. Auden, As I Walked Out One Evening. I used to be Snow White, but I drifted. Mae West. Always go to other people's funerals, otherwise they won't go to yours. Attributed to Yogi Berra. Arguments are to be avoided. They are always vulgar and often convincing. Oscar Wilde, The Importance Being Earnest, 1895. Testing for compound sentences. Note 1. A quick test for a compound sentence is to see if you can divide the sentence into two or more. Simple sentence: the surveying was to have been completed by October 15th. However, construction must start on or before November 15th. The surveying was to have been completed by October 15th. Construction must start on or before November 15th. Note 2. Sometimes three or more simple sentences can combine into a compound sentence. The site was ready, the construction crew was ready, and the materials were ready, but the weather was not cooperative. Stephen R. Covey, Franklin Covey Style, Guide for Business and Technical Communication, 5th edition, Pearson Education, 2012. Word groups that aren't compound sentences. Compound sentences contrast with sentences which have only one clause. These may be simple sentences with no subordinate clauses, or they may contain subordinate clauses. So the following are not compound sentences. I came. When Snowy died, he was buried in the garden. If that child doesn't go, I resign. The definition of compound sentences involves the coordination of whole sentences, complete with all their normal parts. So cases in which just verb phrases or predicate phrases are conjoined do not produce compound sentences. Thus, the following are not compound sentences. I came, saw and conquered. Snowy died and was buried in the garden. James R. Herford, Grammar, A Student's Guide, Cambridge University Press, 1994. Messages sent by compound sentences. The structure of a compound sentence sends certain messages to readers, no matter how you fill in the blanks. First, it tells readers that the sentence contains two relatively important ideas, each one deserving its own independent clause. Second, it tells readers that these two ideas are approximately equal in importance, since they are balanced as a pair. And third, it alerts readers to the relationship between the two ideas, depending on the connector. For example, and suggests that the two ideas are being added together, but indicates that they are being contrasted. And or tells us that they are alternatives. A semicolon suggests balance between two similar or sharply contrasting statements. Diana Hacker and Betty Renshaw, Writing with the Voice, 2nd edition, Scott Forsman, 1989. Complex sentence. In traditional grammar, a complex sentence is a sentence that contains an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. The complex sentence is conventionally regarded as one of the four basic sentence structures in English. The other structures are the simple sentence, the compound sentence, and the compound complex sentence. Examples and observations. In the complex sentence, John left when his sister arrived. The clause when his sister arrived is a dependent clause because it is preceded by the word when, which is a subordinating conjunction. Dependent clauses are not complete sentences. They cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. For example, when his sister arrived cannot stand alone. Dependent clauses must be attached to independent clauses in order to form a complete sentence. In the complex sentence above, John left is the independent clause. Denise E. Murray and Mary Christensen, What English Language Teachers Need to Know. Routledge, 2011. Martina laughed when her mother dropped a pie upside down on the floor. Because he was so small, Stuart was often hard to find around the house. E.B. White, Stuart Little, 1945. I learned a valuable lesson about cheating after I changed a mark on my report card in the 3rd grade. Making the grade. If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Henry David Thoreau, Walden, 1854. He was like a cock who thought the sun had risen to hear him crow. George Eliot, Adam Bere, 1859. When my brother got his pants leg caught on the top of a high fence and hung upside down, weeping and muttering curses because his pants were newly torn and mother would spank him for sure, no angel was with him. Gary Soto, A Summer Life, University Press of New England, 1990. Although volume upon volume is written to prove slavery a very good thing, we never hear of the man who wishes to take the good of it by being a slave himself. Abraham Lincoln. Fragment on Slavery, July 1854. Types of complex clauses, relative clauses and adverbial clauses. A complex sentence has a main clause and one or more subordinate clauses, which come in various kinds. One kind is a relative clause, as in the bold parts of Jack knew the kid who shot Kennedy. They can be piled up as in Jack's the guy who shot the kid who killed Kennedy. One more common kind of subordinate clause is an adverbial clause, often stating when, how, why, or if something happened, as in the bold parts of these sentences. If John comes, I'm leaving, or he left because he felt ill. None of the examples just given were particularly exotic, and they could all easily have occurred in conversational speech. All were, in a technical sense, complex sentences because they contained subordinate clauses. Positioning clauses in complex sentences. Dependent clauses cannot be sentences on their own. They depend on an independent clause to support them. The independent clause in a complex sentence carries the main meaning, but either clause may come first. A. Robert Young and Anne O. Strauch, Nitty-Gritty Grammar, Sentence Essentials for Writers, Cambridge University Press, 2006. The need for complex sentences. Most of the sentences we use in writing or in continuous speech are complex. There is a recurrent need to expound facts or concepts in greater elaboration than the structure of the simple sentence permits. Walter Nash, English Usage, A Guide to First Principles, Routledge, 1986. 4 features of complex sentences. Complex sentences are traditionally divided into 2 basic types. First, sentences including coordinate clauses, and second, sentences including subordinate clauses. The former consists of 2 or more clauses that are functionally equivalent and symmetrical, whereas the latter consists of 2 or more clauses that constitute an asymmetrical relationship. A subordinate clause and a matrix clause do not have equal status and equal function. Foley and Van Balen, 1984, 239. I suggest that prototypical subordinate clauses carry the following features. They are syntactically embedded, formally marked as a dependent clause, semantically integrated in a superordinate clause, and part of the same processing and planning unit as the associated matrix clause. Holger Diesel, The Acquisition of Complex Sentences, Cambridge University Press, 2004. Complex sentences and metaphors. Complex sentences can offer dramatic development, extending a metaphor, as Melville's Captain Ahab reminds us. The path to my fixed purpose is laid on iron rails on which my soul is grooved to run. Complex compound sentences. In English grammar, a compound complex sentence is a sentence with 2 or more independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. The compound complex sentence is one of the 4 basic sentence structures. The other structures are the simple sentence, the compound sentence, and the complex sentence. Examples and observations. The compound complex sentence is so named because it shares the characteristics of both compound and complex sentences. Like the compound sentence, the compound complex has 2 main clauses. Like the complex sentence, it has at least one subordinate clause. The subordinate clause can be part of an independent clause. Random House Webster's Pocket Grammar, Usage and Punctuation, 2007. His blue eyes were light, bright and sparkling behind half-moon spectacles, and his nose was very long and crooked, as though it had been broken at least twice. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Scholastic, 1998. The door of the morning room was open as I went through the hall, and I caught a glimpse of Uncle Tom messing about with his collection of old silver. P.G. Wodehouse, The Code of Woosters, 1938. All of us are egoists to some extent, but most of us, unlike the jerk, are perfectly and horribly aware of it when we make asses of ourselves. Sidney J. Harris, A Jerk, 1961. Those are my principles, and if you don't like them, well, I have others. Groucho Marx. The Druids used mistletoe in ceremonies of human sacrifice, but most of all, the evergreen became a symbol of fertility because it flourished in winter when other plants withered. C.N. Ellis, England's Ancient Special Twig, British Heritage, January 2001. For in the end, freedom is a personal and lonely battle, and one faces down fears of today so that those of tomorrow might be engaged. Alice Walker, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, 1983. We operate under a jury system in this country, and as much as we complain about it, we have to admit that we know of no better system except possibly flipping a coin. Dave Barry's Guide to Marriage and or Sex, 1987. She gave me another of those long, keen looks, and I could see that she was again asking herself if her favorite nephew wasn't steeped to the tonsils in the juice of the grape. P.G. Wodehouse, Plum Pie, 1966. In America, everybody is of the opinion that he has no social superiors, since all men are equal, but he does not admit that he has no social inferiors. For, from the time of Jefferson onward, the doctrine that all men are equal applies only upwards, not downwards. Bertrand Russell, Unpopular Essays, 1930. How and why to use compound complex sentences? The compound complex sentence consists of two or more independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. This syntactic shape is essential in representing complex relationships and so is frequently put to use in various forms of analytical writing, especially in academic writing. It is also probably true that the ability to use compound complex sentences elevates a writer's credibility. It demonstrates that he or she can bring together in a single sentence a range of different pieces of information and order them in relationship to each other. This is not to say that the compound complex sentence invites confusion. On the contrary, when handled carefully, it has the opposite effect. It clarifies the complexity and enables readers to see it clearly. Some other types of sentences. There are four other sentence types in English: declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamatory. Declarative. A declarative sentence declares or states a fact, arrangement, or opinion. Declarative sentences can be either positive or negative. A declarative sentence ends with a period, that is a full stop. I'll meet you at the train station. The sun rises in the east. He doesn't get up early. Imperative. The imperative form instructs or sometimes requests. The imperative takes no subject, as you is the implied subject. The imperative form ends with either a period, that is a full stop, or an exclamation point, like an exclamation mark. Open the door, full stop. Finish your homework. Pick up that mess, full stop. Interrogative. The interrogative asks a question. In the interrogative form, the auxiliary verb precedes the subject, which is then followed by the main verb. That is, are you coming? Question mark. The interrogative form ends with a question mark. How long have you lived in France? When does the bus leave? Do you enjoy listening to classical music? Exclamatory. The exclamatory form emphasizes a statement, either declarative or imperative, with an exclamation point. Hurry up! That sounds fantastic! I can't believe you said that. Summary. Let's look at the summary again to make our understanding more clear about the types of sentences. A simple sentence has only one clause. The cat is sleeping. A compound sentence has two or more clauses. These clauses are joined together with conjunctions, punctuation, or both. The dog is happy but the cat is sad. A complex sentence has one clause with a relative clause. The dog which is eating the bone is happy. A complex compound sentence or compound complex sentence has many clauses, at least one of which is a relative clause. The dog which is eating the bone is happy but the cat is sad. Sentences have different purposes. A declarative sentence or declaration is the most common type of sentence. It tells something. It ends with a full stop. The dog is happy, full stop. An interrogative sentence or question asks something. It ends with a question mark. Is the dog happy? An exclamatory sentence or exclamation says something out of the ordinary. It ends with an exclamation mark. That dog is the happiest dog I have ever seen. An imperative sentence or command tells someone to do something. Give the dog a bone. Here are some more examples of different types of sentences. The sky is blue. Today is Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday. The baby is smiling. This is the road to take. Read a book about the history of America. There are beautiful flowers growing in the garden. The cushions are new and I can experience the comfort well. Conclusion. Writing in English begins with the sentence. Sentences are then combined into paragraphs. Finally, paragraphs are used to write longer structures such as essays, business reports, etc. Thus, sentences are very vital parts of English grammar. Understanding this importance of sentences, we discussed the meaning, importance and types of sentences thoroughly in this episode. We also gave the examples of different types of sentences from the writings of prominent and famous writers to make the episode more interesting for the learners. That is all that we had for you for today. We hope you enjoyed this session. See you again. Till then, namaskar and goodbye.